Hi, ladies. Welcome to another episode of the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am so excited for today's session. I've brought a fantastic lady in today to talk to you all about the power of energetics and also so much more we've just uncovered whilst we've been having a chat. Her name is Karishma Sharma. She is a rapid transformational coach for like high performing women, essentially. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we met recently, well, not even recently, actually, a little while now ago, in a mastermind that we are both part of. So I consider you one of my success, like soul sisters now. We were just chatting beforehand, and I'm like, I have no idea where this episode is going to go. There is so much that we can unpack and so many things that I know we can talk about. We just came back from LA together. It was absolutely incredible. So I cannot wait for her to just share her gifts with you all today. But Karishma, I'll hand over to you so you can do a much better introduction than I can. But I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. And hello to everyone listening. I'm so excited for this episode. I couldn't wait to be on because I just love Rebecca. And like she said, we had such a great time in LA together. So I am basically on this planet for a big purpose, and that is to raise the consciousness, raise the vibration of this planet. And how I do that is working with really highly committed action takers who really want to go to that next level and rising to levels we've never been before. And how I do this is through rapid transformation in mind, body, and soul. Because a lot of the times we focus on one or the other and never all of them together. So I am on a mission to bring them all together, have that massive rapid transformation, which is going to skyrocket your businesses, going to skyrocket your success, your wealth, your freedom, your empowerment, and not just in business, but in life. And I find like so many people forget about themselves on their entrepreneur journey because they're focused on their family or their friends and their clients and coaches and everyone except for themselves. So it's a time to unite with yourself, get to know yourself all over again. And it's such a magical journey. So I am essentially a change maker, a breakthrough coach, energetics legend, two-time best-selling author, and international speaker.
Yes. And I am so honored to be in your energy right now. Like, you are absolutely right. You are an absolute badass. And I love that you are saying about I am here essentially as a light worker to make the world a better place, because I feel the same. And I just think as well, there was so much that you were just saying then. I was like, like completely agree with. And I think it's a problem with women, isn't it? Typically, we suffer with it more about that parts integration of ourselves. Like when we come into an entrepreneur like ship role, we feel like we have to be one person. A mother, it's like a different person. And I think as much as we can in life, like integrate all parts of ourselves, like our shadow self, or all of the good, the bad, the ugly, and then show up as our most authentic self. Like, you're inevitably going to have like feel better, have better results. But why do you think it's so important to have that whole parts integration?
Because we are these badass, unlimited, infinite, powerful beings with just magic in us. And we've forgotten that part of us because of all the conditioning we've got and all the, the limitations we've put on ourselves, or even through generations, we're carrying in our DNA ancestral trauma or wounds. And once we decondition all of the trauma, the limitations, it's almost like we have all these layers and we just take away all these layers. And then we get to the core, the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are is trusting, is this worthiness, this belief in ourselves, this empowered, sexy badass who's just ready to take on the world. And that's who we essentially are. We don't have all these, will anyone like my post? Oh, I only got 3 likes. Or no one's really watched my reel. We don't have all these limitations that we're putting on ourselves. We just go out there, be the badass that we are, stand tall, stand in our element, and really change the world. And that's what we are all here to do. And I know, Rebecca, you are definitely someone who's in that mission. And there's
Yes.
so many of us that
Yeah, and
want this.
it's so lovely to meet somebody who's so like-minded at the deepness of where this goes. Like genuinely, when I've got clients that are like, "Oh, I don't know if I can charge this or if I can do this," I'm like, "This isn't even about you. Like the world needs you right now to step up
Yeah.
and to change the game for all of the women that are going to come after you." So even if you're like doubting yourself right now, it's not even about you. It's about like what we're all here collectively to do at this time on the planet
Mm.
right now. And the world needs us to all like own our space and do our part essentially.
Hmm.
Like I think, something that's the reason we've got to where we are right now in the world with like terrible economy and all these awful things going on is because the world needs more feminine energy leaders. I truly believe that. Like if we were truly wealthy, all earning 6 and 7 figures, I know what I would do with that money. I would do incredible things and I would help so many people. um Not to say that everybody else, like all the men and everything else, not that I hate men, but all of the masculine leaders right now, they're not doing their part. So I feel I love that you really like get into the deepness of why this work is so important. And also the stuff about ancestry as well. I've
Mm.
never worked with another coach that, again, I'm a hypnotherapist, so I work in timeline therapy. So I understand how some things aren't even our own, are they? We're holding beliefs that don't even belong to us. It's come through
Yeah.
lineage.
Exactly. It's in our DNA, and it's almost like our DNA is like scrunched up because of all the trauma and the limitations and everything our ancestors went through. And then as we start to do our inner work, it almost opens up and it can read properly. And that's where we start to feel more of ourselves. And there's clients that come to me and they're like, I've done so much work before, but I just feel like this weight that I'm still carrying. And it's like, you're not even carrying your own weight. It's like the weight of a past life or your ancestors. And that's why I love doing ancestral healing as well, because it's just such a amazing way to connect with your ancestors, but heal at the same time. And, when people are connecting with ancestors, the guidance that comes through, the messages that comes through. I remember the first time I did it, I was just bawling my eyes out because it was such a beautiful connection to ancestors, but it was just like healing on such a deep level. And when we have the opportunity in life to be that change maker, the person that says, no more, this stops at me. No, I'm going to stop it right here. The generations going forward, I don't want this to happen to them. You're healing 7 generations forwards and 7 generations backwards when you do that inner work. So can you just
Wow.
imagine if more and more people were doing their inner work, how much the vibration of the planet changes, how much the frequency changes, how much the consciousness changes.
That would
We
be,
all have
yeah.
that power.
Yeah, obviously I've heard of like the Maharaji effect where, every time, like say we do this work, the ripple effect of that throughout our community, our family, and the
Mm,
world at large is absolutely huge. And I definitely feel that responsibility. I don't know about you, but were you always this way? Were you always kind of, quite spiritual and quite intuitively led, or is this something that you've come to in later life? Because that was certainly my journey. I didn't know anything about any of this, probably
yeah.
like maybe 10 years ago. Hadn't even heard of the law of attraction or anything like that. I mean, I always thought intuitively, like I definitely manifested things and
Mm.
definitely picked up on people's energy in a room, like could always read a room. And I've always been quite intuitive to what people are needing and how they're feeling. But I didn't know about any of the stuff. And literally, it blows my mind even now.
Yeah, I think for me, I grew up as a Hindu, and there's a lot of spiritual side to Hinduism. So I think for me, there was like little bits of it, but like you, I didn't know anything about, universal laws or, how meditation really works and things like that. And I guess I was a bit oblivious to it. And how it came into my life was I went through a really dark time where I was having anxiety attacks, and depression. And it was literally just like a snowball effect. And I just kept going down this tunnel, down this tunnel, down this tunnel. And it was just getting darker and darker and darker. And to the point that I couldn't see any light at the other side. And I remember sitting on the floor in my room, and it was literally like I have to make a choice in this moment. It's either keep going down, further down this tunnel and just never knowing if there's a way back out, or I choose right here, right now, that I change my life
Mm.
and I'm not going to sit in this anymore. And
Oh,
that point,
I just got chills when you said that. That really, wow. Because I'm sure there is so many of us women that have been in that place. Because
yeah,
ultimately, we're wrestling with our soul at all times, aren't we? Like our
yeah,
soul always knows we're meant for more. We could be doing more. So it's like that
mm,
internal conflict all the time, isn't it? That like, God, I would really love to do that thing, but just like you're consciously telling yourself it's not for you, it's not available, you're not good enough, you're not this, and you're
mhm,
just constantly having that battle, aren't you, between what you
yeah,
know is out there and what you feel is possible. So yeah, that really gave me chills because I was like, yeah, I've definitely been in places like that in life. So then what
yeah,
happened? Was it like an eat,
yes.
pray, love moment? Have you read that book?
Sorry?
Have you read that book, Eat, Pray, Love?
No, I haven't.
Well, she based and Gabby Bernstein, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
really profound like female leaders that have said that they've all had that moment where it is like
yeah,
no more, like something has to change. Like so,
yeah.
yeah, I'm always like, oh, tell me more, what happened?
Yeah. So like I'm I guess going down the road is like I made that decision, and that's where my journey to spirituality, like the doors just flew wide open. I came across energy healing and I became an energy healer, and then I started to learn more about personal development and then trauma work and subconscious reprogramming. And you've just mentioned Gabby Bernstein, and I'm like trained in the same work as her, and Oprah as well, and Michael Beckwith. So I'm essentially trained under the same sort of house as them. And it was just like, how much more is there to me? How much more can I possibly learn about myself? And I'm just like, it blows my mind because for years I've been doing inner work and I'm still discovering more and more and more about myself. And, just before we had this conversation started, we were talking about like energetics. And for me, that has been such an amazing journey for me because it's really taken me to a whole new level of what we are capable of as humans.
So
And
what is that? Sorry, energetics for anybody that doesn't know. Because I was saying to Karishma, I was trying to like position the audience and I was like, do you know what? I kind of have a bit of a mix of people. Some are really like down that rabbit hole with me. Like when I'm talking about like spirit guides and angel numbers, like they're on it. And then I've got the others that are like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I like the tone of your voice. So I'm just going to
yeah.
listen anyway. So what does energetics mean exactly?
Yeah, so energetics is basically leveraging, wielding different types of energy. I know when people talk about energy, a lot of people just think of Reiki or pranic healing, which is something I'm almost trained in. But what I do is use leading edge energetics. So I guess the closest way to describe it is think of Abraham Hicks, but a whole new level to
Yeah.
that.
So this is
So
like working with your own personal energy and then like tuning into it, or is it like manifestation? Like,
yeah, all of the above, really. So yeah, it's basically working with mind, body, and soul. So I have managed to expand to a place where all three talk to each other, and we have like non-physical cells in our minds. We have energetic minds. We have physical cells. We have non-physical cells, and we have our soul. And through our soul, we connect to divine energies, we connect to our higher selves. Like everyone's got different definitions of what a higher self is. But for me, the work that I've done, what I've come to understand, and when I'm channeling from my higher self or guides, higher self is another soul just like us, and we're hyper connected. So it's not the more wealthier, healthier version of yourself. It's another soul that we're hyper connected, and they are you, you are them. You share this, you share energy. So they're not, it's not something to be afraid of because you're at the same frequency. So you're not going to be like, oh my God, what is going on? But your higher self loves you regardless of what has happened in your life, what you do. They are here to guide you. And essentially, when you're alive on this planet, they only are dedicated to you and no one else on this planet. So when you are feeling lost and confused and alone, you have your higher self, and you're never alone. They basically give you all the guidance that you need, and they know you better than anyone else. So when people say, like, look within, or the guidance comes from within. So when you're sitting there connecting to your higher self and having a chat with your higher self, or even in meditation, and your higher self is dropping stuff through to you, that is what is happening. It's like you've opened up those channels. And what we all have behind our eyes, all the way down to the bottom of our pelvis, is an invisible cylindrical tube, which is our inner being. And we have this place where there's just this beautiful, beautiful energy, and that's where our soul resides as well. So the more I connect with clients, the more I let them connect with their souls and their higher selves, getting them to start to connect deep, deep within. The more empowered you feel, the more decisions you make for yourself, from yourself. And that's essentially what I'm helping more people to do, and build businesses from this place where you are trusting in yourself, where you have belief in yourself, where you feel that worthiness. And rather than looking outside of yourself and giving your power away, building a business from a place of love rather than fear.
God, that sounds amazing. It's almost like, I mean, that just all sounds so beautiful, doesn't it? I think, I mean, just again, or everything you say, I'm like, oh my God, I could say so much about it, because I just absolutely vibe with everything you're saying. So, and I think for a lot of us right now, the worst feeling is feeling alone and feeling like you're getting things wrong, and you're not doing what you're not fulfilling your potential, you're not doing the things that you should be doing. And I guess having that connection to that inner self actually means that you're never alone and you're never wrong. And it's exactly as it's meant to be, and you're always supported and loved. Like, God, isn't that what we all should aspire to? And yet we accept such we accept such crumbs right now. So I guess it's like the what's the word I was going to say? It's like the version of us without any inhibitions. Like, if there was no wrong answer, if your desires were exactly as they were meant to be, and you don't have to feel guilty or worry about other people, this is like, and you hadn't been conditioned or had limiting beliefs or people telling you can't. Is it like that version of you, like that? So where you were saying it's not necessarily like wealthier, healthier, it's just you, but without all the crap like that's been stuck to you.
Yeah, well, actually, the higher self has they have their own names and everything, so they're not essentially us, like,
exactly us.
times 10. They're another soul. They have their own names. You can, when you build that relationship, you can receive their names, and you can even build that relationship. Like my higher self, she's a freaking badass, but she's so humorous as well.
Can my higher self be Beyonce? Because I always imagine that she is.
Yeah, you never know. There are people who have guides by I know a lot of people who have guides from famous people that have passed away. Gandhi's been one of my guides. That's he come in and like shown me like this amazing energetic library, and like he's just got so much he wants to share with me and things like that. I know other people have had like Mother Teresa or Princess Diana and things like that. So like, as you start to build this relationship, you start to understand energetics, you start to build on these relationships and understand more. You just realize, like, wow, how much more are we capable of as humans? Because we literally just touched the tip of the iceberg of what we're capable of. And I was saying to you earlier that we, as humans, we all have these abilities, and the more we exercise them, they become energetic capabilities. And what we can do with these energetic capabilities is immense, and it's freaking incredible.
Well, you started touching actually on like how this can help with manifestations, which literally, like, my eyes were like ding, What? That was super exciting. So like offline, we were just talking about, you were saying about the desire timeline, and that's kind of an
Mm,
exercise that you take clients through, where you essentially take them from here right through to their desired outcome, which is essentially like manifesting your goals, your dreams. And I know, like, I work with the power of intention and visualization, and like, just, I know that I can make shit happen if I really put, and I know that as women, if we put our mind to something. But this is like that on steroids. This is like the
uh-huh.
next level. So can you
Yeah.
kind of like explain that process a little bit and how that can help with manifestations?
Absolutely. So yes, so as I was just saying, like we have abilities, when we exercise them, they become capabilities. So my energetic capability is called lasting equilibrium. And what it does essentially is where you have desires, where you have these things that you're trying to manifest, it basically takes you on this journey where I can see what is possible. I take you on a journey of understanding what are your blocks, like what's stopping you from manifesting this, and what is it that you need to stop doing, what do you need to leave behind, what do you need to start doing, what do you need to keep doing. So I give you the exact steps to your manifestation. And what happens is I am able to cement the energy. So for those of you who find it hard to focus on yourself and have these moments where you focus on your manifestation, this cements the energy so that you don't have to worry, is it going to happen, is it going to happen? It cements the energy. And what happens is when you have the manifestation, it's not just one off, it's continuous results. And so this is not for people who want instant gratification. If you're looking for long term, like whether it's your dream home, so it's not going to be like you move into a house to another house to then eventually your dream home. It's like energizing it so that you have this dream home that you can live in for years and years and years. So for example, someone I did this reading for, in terms of their dream home, I could literally see her girls who are like quite young. I could literally see them growing up and getting married from that house, like
Oh,
almost like, when they're ready to get married, like I can see them still like around that house. So it's almost like whether they get their own place or come back, but I could see my client literally in that house for all those years. That I got a message yesterday from someone, I did a reading for them. It was about, them manifesting their eternal love. But whilst I was giving her the exact steps, what she wasn't doing was focusing on herself and like, deciding what she wanted for herself. And she just sent me a message yesterday saying, I figured out what I'm going to do. I'm going to become an EFT practitioner. And she's like, this has lit me up so much. I've signed up. I'm going to, this time next year, I'll be an EFT practitioner. So it's almost like on the way to your manifestation, on the way to your desire, so much is going to unfold for yourself. There's going to be manifestation. So the more you follow the steps I do, the more like all these little manifestations, it's almost like a timeline I can see, and I'll walk you down it and I can see what's going to happen at different stages. You have your manifestation, but along the way, all these trickles of like other mini manifestations happen. And it's just
sounds
like
so incredible. Like literally so incredible. And I've never known somebody that can pull all of that together in one offer. Because like I've
yeah.
worked with psychics and I've worked with manifestation coaches and I've worked with like tarot readers and all of these things. And that just for me just lights me up completely. So I'm sure that there's other women out there that will absolutely be obsessed with that offer, because it's for me, it's all about the journey rather than the destination.
Absolutely.
Like when we're
Yeah,
goal setting, it's not even necessarily the goal that we want, it's the feelings that we want to,
exactly.
want to invoke, and that just feels so lovely that you're going to have this beautiful journey unfold on the way.
Yeah.
So what would you do if you had a client though that was like, I don't know what I want? Because sometimes that comes up, and it's usually like a disconnection, isn't it? Because you're
Mm,
so used to putting everybody else's needs before your own, particularly if you're a mother or even just a woman right now in today's society. Like we're conditioned to be humble, to be a good girl, to be quiet, not to take up space. So it's very, I can see how easily we disconnect from our own goals and desires, because we're just
mm,
continually being like conditioned by everybody else around us, by the media and everything else. So what would you do if you had a client that was literally like, I don't know what I want right now? Would you
yeah.
be able to guide them to uncover it?
Yeah. So there's two things. So with all my clients, and this is working sort of long term, I find that so many people are disconnected from feeling because of past hurt or trauma or pain, and they're scared to feel that again. So a lot of it's just like a natural reaction many people have, and this is the place I was in, is we shut off from feeling. So we have vortexes of emotions, and every client I work with, I activate those vortexes of emotions so they can feel again without that fear. And what that helps them do is opens up like the possibility, like what is possible for me, because you feel that love, you feel that trust in yourself, you feel that strength, that power. What are you capable of? It almost ignites that faith within them. And another thing is I take them through a journey of uncovering, like, and it comes down to that conditioning. It's like where you don't know, it's like that lack of purpose, lack of alignment. So we go on this journey of what does that look like, but coming from a place of you deep within, not me sort of saying this is your desire, this is what you want. It's like, let's take away the layers. Like, who are you under all those layers? Let's figure that out. And I'm very intuitive as well, so I can feel like when people are like, when their stomach's crunched, or when they're like gritting their teeth, or what thoughts are coming up in their mind. So I did a guest expert, and once I finished, because I was sort of saying all these things, I was like, let go, your stomach's crunched, just allow it. And all these thoughts, like, that were coming up. And when I finished the session, they were like, oh my God, how did you know like what was going on in my head or what I was feeling? And they were
Oh my
just
God,
like
are
completely
you getting
shocked.
anything from me right now? My energy is manic, so good luck. Like, I'm
I
such a high vibe, like, person. Good luck
yeah.
what you're getting from me. You might need like a lie down after.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I'm going through some massive changes myself. And yeah, I had like a soul upgrade the other day, and it was like freaking crazy.
What does
But
that feel like? How do you know when you're ready for that next level? Because I find this a lot, and there'll be clients like, obviously, because I'm a coach too, and we
mm,
work in long-term containers, and it's like there's a lot. Sometimes there's a lot of ick before you actually get to the other side of the
oh
hindsight.
yeah.
And you're like, oh wow, okay, so that's why. That's why I was
Yeah.
feeling like, nah, just it's not right. Things aren't right, but I don't know why. Like, what does that feel like? That process, and how should it be feeling?
Um it's hard to say because it feels different for everyone, but kind of like what you said, when like there's something getting in the way, like you're almost like you feel like you're on the edge of a cliff. It's almost like, oh, this like really uncomfortable space. And it's like, for people who are really determined, who are real action takers, who are here for this big mission, who are ready to be like leaders in whatever leadership role that is. I always say leaders, not like a president or a CEO or whatever. You can make a leader whatever you want it to mean. And when you feel like, okay, I've kind of done everything at this level, you're going to feel like this uncomfortable, like, oh, things aren't quite going as they should. You're almost feeling like a push from like, from behind. Like it's almost like you're at the edge of the cliff. You're in that moment where like, oh, this is so freaking hard. Do I give up? And you're
Yeah,
like questioning yourself. And then you're just like, oh, that's why
hindsight.
that
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
So I get some clients actually along this journey where some things will manifest, like really terrible clients or
Mm,
experiences in their business. And it's almost like they're at that point, like, right, okay, I want to give up. Like, this is just not working. And then I'm like sitting there as a coach, like, oh my God, it's like something wrong. But actually, what I believe is that's the universe. Like, if you're not listening to yourself and you're not listening
mm,
to those intuitive nudges and that stirring in your soul, then the universe is going to make it fucking happen. Like, anyway,
yeah.
something some catastrophe is going to happen, and you are going to be pushed out of your comfort zone, and it's going to have to happen whatever happens. Because I feel like, do you believe that your destiny is already set, or do you believe that we make it happen? Like, what's your stand on that? I've got an example of this, but yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, so from what I know from like what I've learned in terms of this whole energetic side of things from my coaches, is that we have soul contracts, and before we come to earth, like in non-physical, we agree to these soul contracts, and it's kind of like written there. So whatever mission we're put in, whatever hurt or pain we go through, whatever, you know, struggles or anything, like we've already agreed to it all before we come to physical. And there's pre-manifestations in there as well, so there's things that will happen regardless, but there's also free will. So we have this soul contract, but if we decide when we're on earth, like as a human, I do not want this, we have free will to go against what our soul contract is. So that's
You can
how I
still,
understand it.
yeah, we can still be the captain of our own ship. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So an example that I've got of this, and I absolutely believe in soul contracts as well. And it's like we understood the assignment when we came here, and
Mm,
it definitely helps me to have like a bit of a humor about it, because I've definitely had like super dark childhood,
yeah.
super turbulent, like adult years as well. And I do believe that, I kind of signed up for this, and I kind of knew that, and that, but part of that is that then I could use it for good and be an inspiration and a light to others and have all of this, incredible wisdom. And one example that I've got of this is actually, I always had inside me this like knowing that, I could do more. Like I feel like I've been through too much to only come so far in life. But I
Mm,
wasn't brave enough to like go out on my own and be an entrepreneur. So I definitely took the typical path of, just getting a really good job, being in corporate, and getting a mortgage, and just being super sensible and having my kids and da 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 da. But I always had this like, oh, but actually there's a part of me that doesn't feel like I should be in this box. And I
mm,
always used to get the feedback from like my managers, because I worked in HR. It was always like too loud, too chatty, too sympathetic, too empathic with the cases and stuff that I was dealing with. And it's almost like you'll never succeed in this industry because you're too much. And I'd be like, well, to me, that seems like it should be a good thing, but
yeah.
now they're telling me it's a bad thing, to be intuitive and empathic as, a HR professional who's working with people all day. So I always had like this bit of like just inner resistance. It's almost like
Mm,
just stubborn mentality that like, well, I'm not going to conform or do what you tell me to, but equally, I quite like getting a good salary and everything else. So I was never going to take myself off and be an entrepreneur. But what happened was, and I've kind of ventured into that a few times, like went on maternity leave, tried to start something, didn't quite work out, and then retreated to the safety of my corporate job. And
mm,
then what happened was I went to go and drop my kids off one morning, because my mum was my main caregiver, and so I had like three children under 5. So, like no
hats
childminder
off
is
to
going to
you.
take, yeah, no childminder is going to take that whole like situation. And they were too small for school. So, dropped them off to my mum's, got to the door like 5 in the morning in my heels, ready to go to work. And she'd actually had a stroke. And it was so instant, like literally the whole rug pulled out from underneath me, because I had no backup
Wow.
plan. I was a single parent at the time, so it wasn't like I even had the finances to get an au pair, get a
Mm,
childminder. And this was definitely before the days of COVID, where even working from home was a thing. So it was
mm,
like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. Like literally just like that, a career that I've been training for 10 years. And I've got no backup, because I never even considered that this would ever be an option. And that's essentially what happened. They were a bit like, yeah, that's not our problem. So bye. And I'd been there like 5 years, and I was like, what?
wow.
And obviously now in hindsight, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. God, I
Hmm.
was unleashed after that point, because give me an inch and I'll take a mile. Like I literally sold my house, I went all in, bought a business, and and I've never looked back. And that was 8 years ago. And just every, business like grows, my confidence grows, my intuition. But it's almost like the universe knew better, and it knew that I was like copping out and being like, I felt like it was sitting there waiting for me, like, come on, bitch. Like, we know you're meant to be an entrepreneur. We know you're not meant to be a HR director, so who are we kidding with that whole life plan? We know something better. So it waited for me to like try and get there by myself. And then it was just like, fuck it. I'm just going to take the
Yeah.
whole rug away from you. And now you have no choice. Do you
Yeah.
believe in that? That it can, like, the universe can nudge you onto the path that you were meant to be on?
Do you know, for so long, I would always think like when something went wrong, I would go into like, why has this happened? Like, what, why has this gone wrong? And like when we don't get something that we want, and I used to go into that. But then as I've come along the journey, it's almost like when things go wrong, it's like something better is coming,
Yeah.
or or it's a way of like, that's not what you actually want. That's not what you truly want. So it's almost like, what is it that I need to work on, that needs to change? It's almost like a sign that something's not quite right. So let's readjust our path.
Yeah.
And, funny enough, that happened to me yesterday. I was feeling really off about like this business thing that was just feeling really off yesterday. Well, it's been feeling a bit off for a few days. And then yesterday, like using the energetics, I was flowing through and understanding, I was just like, what is going on? Like, why does this feel so off for me?
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, and what I could see visually is like, there was this path for me, but I had gone off on a different path, which wasn't what aligned to me. It wasn't lighting up my soul. So it was almost like I could see back onto the path that I actually want to be on, which is so much more fun and humorous and vibrant and energetic and magic. And it was just like, this is what I want, because my business is built on, three things, which is fun, freedom, and fabulousness.
Ah,
So
love it.
yeah, so I was like, that's why this feels so off, because it was feeling heavy and it was feeling serious and it was feeling dark and like, oh, I'm dragging my feet. And then when I could see like, oh, the path I want to be on is actually fun and it's bright and it's energetic and it's got people and community and excitement and all these things, I was like, that is where I want to be. So it's like, when you're feeling those moments of off, it's most likely like a nudge, like, get on the right path, get on the right path, get on the right path.
Yes, come back. Like, girl, stop settling. And a lot of the
Yes.
time, like, that's the problem, isn't it? Our expectations are so low for what life is meant to be that we don't
Mm,
even realize when we're out of alignment. And I get a
yeah.
lot of this with my clients where they're like, well, my business is making money. And, so really I should be grateful. And, it's really not that bad. And I'm like, you
Mm,
know that it also gets to be really fucking exciting and absolutely amazing. And they're like, yeah, but I shouldn't grumble and I should be grateful. And I'm like, what? You shouldn't be settling for that at all. It's not that bad. Who wants to live their life from a place of it's not that bad?
yeah.
And I think that's, people like yourself and I, like, that's what we bring to the world, that actually it's just another point of view, that it gets to be fun. You can make
Mm,
money and it can be exciting. And,
yeah.
you can be a solopreneur, but also have a community. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I've loved. I think the thing that I've been so grateful since we met was the power of the collective. And
Oh gosh,
I know
yeah.
so many women, that is something that we have missed our whole life. Because as girls, we're taught to be in competition with each other.
Mm,
We've all had instances of trauma where other women and other girls have been mean to us, and it's almost like we become afraid of that, don't we? So then, as you go into an entrepreneur space, you suddenly see everybody as competition, and like, kind of stay in your lane and do your thing, and don't talk to anybody. Don't tell them what you're going to launch. Don't tell them what you're going to do.
yeah.
And and that was definitely my journey. Like, for
Yeah.
probably the
Yeah.
first 6 years of my business, I was just doing it alone. And
Mm,
to finally now have met people like yourself and some of our other connections, where it genuinely feels like it's almost like found a soul home, like just another group of
mm.
women that are just here to have fun and make it amazing, just feels incredible. So is that the kind of thing that you do with your clients, like kind of create that, you were saying about fun and community? Is that something that you bring into your business as well?
Yeah, so I just want to sort of touch back on what you were saying about, like, people just sort of settling, like, even if you're making money. That's why I'm so passionate about the work that I do, because what we do is, like, a lot of people run for the hills when they hear the word trauma work or subconscious reprogramming or, letting go or healing. They run for the hills, and, like, actually it's probably the best thing you could ever do for yourself is, like, when you understand how much you're holding, like, energetically, like, low vibration in your body. When you release that and you're able to, like, fill that with high vibration emotions and energy, like, the difference when you wake up every day, the difference when you get out of bed every day, the difference you're going to feel within yourself and feel good, just because you're on this planet and just because you're alive, not because you've had a PayPal notification or another client sign up or something else come from outside of you. When you understand that you can feel good from within, just because, like, that is the main journey that I like to take people on. And you were just talking about community, and what I'm actually doing is putting a YouTube channel, which is going to be, like, energetically, it's going to be like this holding of, like, all the subscribers are going to be held in this energetics, where they're going to feel the up levels, because all of the videos are going to be infused with energetics. So they're going to feel this community feel, they're going to feel like the energy flowing, like, even if they're not watching the video, they're going to feel like the flow of the energy. And eventually what I want to do is start to bring more and more and more community together, who love the sound of energy, who want to be those
God, can you
leaders.
do a retreat, Karishma? I would absolutely be there with bells on. Karishma lives in like Florida, in obviously the US, which, God, could you imagine? Like, I'm going to start putting in my request, like, answers on a postcard. You're going to be like, why does Rebecca keep sending me like pictures of like the
Oh my
Florida
gosh,
Keys and Miami and like what?
I would love that, honestly. Like, if
Yes.
someone else can organize it for me and I just show up and I will
Yes,
take you
in a
through.
beautiful like caftan and just like
Yeah,
looking absolutely fabulous. I would
I would love
definitely
that.
be there. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I am like blown away with what you've just said about the YouTube. That would be insane. So I've just recently been introduced to how the power, like that energy, can transfer.
Mm.
I was always of the mindset that you had to be physically in person, or you've got to be really focused on the person that you're working with. But I've actually, funny enough, got a client that infuses energetics into Facebook ads.
Yeah.
So she has a marketing agency, and every campaign she infuses all this stuff into like obviously amplify the results and the people that are actually seeing it, like making sure it goes to the right people. This is like blown my mind. So you're also going to do it with a YouTube channel, which just sounds incredible. So I'm going to have to put all of
Yeah.
the details obviously in the show notes. So, and I do believe, like you were saying about how when you take away all of that, sorry, just to circle back on what you said about where you were saying about if you take away all of those layers, I do believe
Mm.
inherently, no matter how much shit happens to us in life and how much we are dragging around from our, genetics and our ancestors and everything else, and just the fact that we're a woman right now, we would no doubt have inevitably more of that with, witches wound and everything else. I think our soul inherently wants to be happy. So I sometimes believe when you're having and experiencing these extreme highs and then these extreme lows, it's like the highs are how we're supposed to be feeling. And that is ultimately our soul like wanting to be happy. And then all of the lows, it's almost like it's us like bringing down our energy and reality and all of these beliefs, like kind of almost like something bobbing on the water. It's like we're meant to be up here and high, and then we're just down. And then it's like, but our soul's like, no, I want to be happy. And it's like trying to get
Yeah.
up there. And then it's just so I just honestly, I believe that every woman has to gift themselves this kind of work. Like, absolutely. You
Yeah.
deserve it. Like, you absolutely should be living a life that is limitless and is in alignment with your true self and why you're meant to be here. So, if somebody wanted to just kind of, other than obviously reaching out, which I'm absolutely going to be doing myself, because I'm thinking, like, I can do with this. Like, who knows what else is like lurking? I need this. So other than obviously reaching out, which I'm absolutely going to put all your details, and I encourage any woman to give themselves this experience because it sounds absolutely magical. And who the hell knows what's possible for you with your manifestations if you did this? I'm already thinking like Zac Efron. Can you help me manifest Zac Efron? Like, just that would be amazing. But if people are just like they're maybe not ready to invest, but they're curious and they want to know like how can I start like feeling more connected and more in alignment and building that relationship with my inner self, like have you got any top tips like how to start that as a daily practice, what that would look
Yeah. So I just want to circle back to what you were saying about like, you working with someone who infuses sort of energetics into ads. That's essentially what I do. There's actually there's actually energetics infused to this podcast.
like? Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So what you may feel, and if people are very different. Some people see, some people know, some people can feel, some people are cognitive. So I'm very feeling led and very cognitive, so it's almost like my thought process that when I'm channeling through. But what I've infused is hope for all the ladies and love, and opening up that trust for themselves and that empowerment. So, that's making me emotional. I'm just sort of like, energizing the podcast. But yeah, so essentially, that is something that we can definitely do with your businesses, with your life. And so what I would definitely say, give the energetics on my YouTube channel a go. And
Yeah,
obviously I will share the link with Rebecca. But what you can do is, I'm going to be putting on there like how you can connect to your higher self and just start to build that relationship. And you can start really basic. So you connect to your higher self, which you can learn off the YouTube channel, and then just start like asking questions, like, even with the guides, like you don't necessarily need to know names or who they are, what, just like feeling their energy and just asking simple questions. And what I started off with was like saying, my left hand is yes, my right hand is no, asking questions and then getting them to like just make a sensation in one of their hands. So, am I on the right path with the business? And then you just get a sensation in your left or your right kind of thing. Or like even breaking it down more simpler than that, like, should I have beans on toast?
yeah. So it's almost like working with a pendulum, like using your own
Yeah.
sort of like internal, I don't even know what what that is, but yeah. Oh my God, that's like Karishma, you have sent me down a rabbit hole this afternoon. So I'm thinking, oh my God, is it really that simple? Is it really
Yeah.
that simple? Just asking the guidance, just
Yeah.
asking questions and being open to receiving, I guess.
Yeah, so there is like a connection that you do. So you have like a gateway at the top of your head, so you'll feel your higher self coming through. And then another thing that you can do is, whatever hand you write with, put a pen or pencil or whatever in the opposite hand. So I'm right-handed, I put it in my left. Just lightly hold it and then just put it on a piece of paper and just ask your higher self to draw something. And you'll see, like, you look at it and think, what the frick is that? But if you keep it, because trust me, I did that. I did it in a book, and as time went on and my journey sort of carried on, things started happening. And then when I looked back at those pictures, it made so much sense what those pictures were,
Oh my
because it
God.
was stuff that had actually happened to me. Like
I don't think
it
I've ever
showed.
had so many chills in one podcast episode. I'm like, what? Like, that's
Yeah.
insane. I
Yeah.
honestly, because I am a believer, like you are definitely preaching to somebody who already believes in all of this, but it like my mind's blown with actually the depth that this can go and the amount,
Mm,
like just the amount of power that is out there and available to you. So whenever you're feeling like so helpless and I'm just at the mercy of life, it's actually knowing that you're really not. Like you're so supported and there's so much
yeah.
that you can tap into kind of, in the wider collective and universe, but also in yourself. Doesn't that feel
Mm,
really exciting?
yeah. And you've just sort of triggered a thought process. Like when you are feeling a lot and you just can't figure out, like, why am I feeling like so much like lowness or energy, and if it's not something significant in your own life, just remember, like, we're all connected
Yeah.
as a collective. So, you know, a lot of people were feeling a lot of energy rising when the Queen passed, because there was
Yes.
like almost like this big event that was about to happen. So I could feel so much energy, and then the announcement came out, and I was like, oh, okay, that
That
explains a
makes
lot.
sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we're all connected, like, you know, everyone on this listening to this podcast, we're all connected. So if you're feeling like anything from this podcast, just know it's like probably connected to what Rebecca and I are feeling. Or, you know, where the more we can rise that feeling, that vibration, that energy, just imagine what we can do for this planet. And that's why, like, these missions are so
Yes.
important.
Yes, definitely. Couldn't agree more. And I do feel that. And sometimes if I can feel like energy outside of me, like if I'm walking past something and someone's having an
Mm.
argument, I actually try and send them like good energy and good vibes to try and diffuse it. I don't know if it works, but in my mind it does. And I'm sure on some level it does. But oh my God, Karishma, thank you so much for your time. I am like, honestly, I'm really like a bit in shock. I think I'm going to have so many like follow-on questions. I'm
Oh my gosh,
absolutely
absolutely.
I'm definitely reaching out for a session. I think everybody should. I am going to absolutely be following your YouTube. I cannot wait for that. This is like almost like porn to me. Like it feeds my soul, and I'll be sitting there like, can't wait for the next episode. Like genuinely, I'm like
Oh my
so
gosh,
excited.
that's
Sorry,
hilarious.
I'm
I
very
love that.
crude.
No,
feel,
no, no,
feel
it's
free
all
to use
good.
that as a testimonial.
Like I said, it's all fun, freedom, and fabulous, right?
Oh, well, thank you so much. And ladies,
Thank
honestly, if you've
you.
enjoyed this episode, please head over to Karishma's YouTube channel. I'm going to put all the details on there for you. Please download her resources, go to her page and book your session. And yeah, thank you so much. Obviously, don't forget to like, follow, comment, share, whatever, all the things. And I hope you have a fantastic day.